Hey, everybody. It's the Wrestlenomics Thursday 30 coming at you live and free for the time being. I am Chris Gullo, joined alongside the mathematics wizard, the ratings. Well, yeah, I got to come up with a cool. The king of ratings, Brandon Thurston.
No, not a demo god. What did MJF try to use for a minute? The minutes.
Yeah,
Do you,
minute by minute, or
it didn't last. Anyway, what are we going to talk about today?
yeah. So we actually are going to talk about the Dynamite rating that just came out with the quarter hours. We're going to discuss AEW versus WWE business as of recent, and how is Bray Wyatt's return affecting ticket sales. So that and all
Yes,
more here on a Thursday 30. If you want to participate, we do have the super chat option. There's the $sign with your question, and we will answer it probably at the end of the Thursday 30 if you do ask the super chat.
I'm hearing that we have quarter hours. Can you confirm that?
I can confirm.
I can confirm they were hand jammed into the spreadsheet moments, and I mean moments before going live today. So we will touch on quarter hours. As we have for a number of weeks in a row now. But this is the Thursday 30. It's going to be subscriber only beginning in November. If you want to become a patron on patreon.com/Wrestlenomics, you'll get access to that in November, as well as immediate access to the Wrestlenomics viewership spreadsheet, the quarter hours that I post. We've got TV ratings, the exclusive source for TV ratings for Women of Wrestling. The third episode's ratings have been posted, and plenty of other things. So we'll get started with Dynamite ratings, since that's the newest news. I didn't update this slide, but we'll move past it. AEW Dynamite had 983,000 viewers, a demo of 0.32. This was both the lowest total and 18 to 49 viewership since August 17th. That said, it wasn't that far off of what it's been doing usually. What do we want to talk about here? See, I have quarter hours done, but I don't have them. We got them so late, I don't have them in the spreadsheet. But what I can do is we'll exit out of the spreadsheet and we'll do some live slides, or we'll exit out of the slides and do some live spreadsheet business right now. So here's the table. I'm going to copy and paste it in here right now. We have two cells that are bright green, and that is quarter hour 2. I'm talking about the demo here. And that is quarter hour 2, and that is quarter hour 6. Quarter hour 2 was up 3% in the demo in a quarter that is usually down 3% in the demo. That was the last few minutes of Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy, and a short segment backstage with Matt Hardy, Ethan Page, I believe Stokely Hathaway, and Private Party were involved too. And then we have quarter hour 6, which was up 1% in the demo. And by the way, this let me paste the line chart. This is another down and to the right trend for quarters. So this, much like last week, was a pretty precipitous decline throughout the program. Not the consistent narrative that one has been able to use when talking about AEW Dynamite quarter hours of late. This was a pretty down to the right trend. Beginning in quarter hour 1, perhaps benefited by the Big Bang Theory lead-in. We don't know what the viewership was for the Big Bang Theory at 7:30, but starting with just over 1 million viewers, 1,069,000, it did grow and peak in quarter hour 3. What did quarter hour 3 have? It had the tag match between QT Marshall teaming with Nick Comoroto against Samoa Joe and Wardlow. Some call it Ward Joe, right? Is that it? It had the stuff post-match with FTR, Brian Cage. It had a relatively short, in the context of 15 minutes, of a promo with Chris Jericho 2.0. And then it had the beginning, I would say around half of the Billy Gunn and Swerve Strickland match. So we did have one red box here, which was quarter hour 4, which lost 6% of the demo in a quarter that usually loses 1% of the demo. And that was the finish of the Gunn and Swerve match, the post-match stuff with the Acclaimed, Mark Sterling, Tony Nese, an MJF backstage promo, an ad break, a Jon Moxley live promo. I don't see super loud and clear stories here. I did see a pretty clear story in the Raw quarter hours that we'll talk about in a moment here. But any thoughts and questions? I'll open this up for Chris Gullo's Q&A. Yes, anything to
I was just gonna say Billy Gunn equals ratings until
Well, he's the most protected individual in all of AEW. So I'm glad that Swerve Strickland had to hold on to those ropes to pin the one Billy Gunn. Nobody can get him.
Yeah, but like you said, that segment 4, quarter 4 has just a lot jammed in there. There really isn't one reason you could pinpoint for that drop, I think.
Quarter hours are nonsense, man. Like if I think maybe you can get, if there's a really huge discrepancy, let's since I'm ranting about it now, let's just look at what the let's look at the quarter hours for Raw this past Monday, which are in here somewhere, right?
Yeah. Well, you go up.
Where?
Oh, there. Yeah, I think you were right. No, you got to go up.
Oh, here.
Right there.
Okay.
Yep.
So if I could find them, I was going to blame it on you. So here we have, look at quarter hour 5. Quarter hour 5 for Raw. The epic 3-hour Monday Night Raw. Quarter hour 5, the 9 o'clock to 9:15 p.m. quarter. Up 20% from quarter to quarter. Up 24% in the demo. This had no ad breaks in it. What's the biggest draw and anti-draw in all of quarter hour analysis? It's ad breaks.
Ad breaks, yep.
And notice there were 3 quarters that had no ad breaks in them, but this was one of them. But it did have the Judgment Day doing this angle with AJ Styles that led to the return of Carl Anderson and Doc Gallows. I'm going to do something dangerous and try to extrapolate a narrative onto this and say, well, maybe I did go back and rewatch this, and it wasn't a short segment, so maybe as they appeared on the screen, people called their friends and told them, you got to put on the USA Network, or maybe they saw it on social media, or maybe people who would have tuned out did not tune out. Anyway, that's a huge increase. So we have quarter hours going back to early 2022 this year. We don't have very few quarter hours before then. This is, at least in Raw, because Raw is on one spreadsheet, so I can easily look at it. This is the biggest quarter-to-quarter growth in viewership for Raw that I am aware of this year. I didn't look at the other shows. There might be others that are even bigger than this, but this is astonishing. Main event quarter with Matt Riddle and Sami Zayn and the DX Live promo also grew 13%, 10% in the demo. So those are double-digit differences. I was doing this will bore people. I was doing some math earlier and trying to use standard deviation to say, is this 5% rule that I'm using to light up these green boxes, is that appropriate? And it varies from show to show. I looked at all 5 shows that we usually have core hours for, and 5% is pretty good. For some of the shows, the standard deviation can be more like 6% or even 7%. But, mid-single digits seems like it's about right. That requires further explanation, but it'll be too boring. So anyway, that's a huge difference. I think if you want to know which quarter drew the most interest for the given show, you should just look at the YouTube stuff. Look at the YouTube on this. I try to exit out of this. Look at the YouTube data. So we have here. These are the top 10 most viewed WWE YouTube videos on their YouTube channel. And number 1 is the highlights of Bray Wyatt returning at Extreme Rules that has 2.7 million views as of last hour. But the Gallows and Anderson return to help AJ Styles against the Judgment Day has 1.55 million, which is just behind, right? It is just behind the Brock Lesnar return against Bobby Lashley, which has 1.67 million. So, and Brock Lesnar, first of all, it's a Brock Lesnar segment. Second of all, it's a Brock Lesnar return. That would do huge numbers. And so the notion that the Gallows Anderson clip did more than 1 million views and did something comparable to a Brock Lesnar return clip tells me that in this short instance of time popped a number.
Interesting that they didn't put a DX video up.
This is the top 10. So you want to know, is there a DX video?
Because I would think, based on we've seen Nostalgia's doing very well in merchandise, that would do good on YouTube.
So if we look at just the Raw, this is the Raw, and we do have some DX stuff here. We have a DX clip that is currently now some, more than 60 hours since it's been posted. We do have one DX clip that did over 1 million.
Okay, I couldn't see it on that.
This is the clip that showed this is the clip that closed the show for Raw.
Because I think that has to contribute to that strong finish. At least part of it.
So, SmackDown was a normal number. The big question, big test this week is, what does SmackDown do this Friday with Bray Wyatt advertised? More on that in a second. But Raw was up compared to the last 4 weeks, 11% total viewership, up 25% in 18 to 49. Why? Why?
I mean,
yes, why? Why was the Raw rating up this week? Raw rating was especially high. Look at these gauges.
The season premiere,
season premiere, because they had their nice rest from watching Raw all year, and they had that hiatus period.
It was Bray Wyatt.
No Raw.
Because Bray showed up at Extreme Rules. I think they thought Bray Wyatt would pop up on Raw. There was no, and I think that's part of it. And I think then obviously Gallows shows up and Anderson, and then people.
But they weren't advertised. That was a total surprise.
No,
Brock Lesnar was a surprise. Nobody knew they were going to show up.
I think the Bray Wyatt thing probably.
Yes, I think there's 3 factors here. I think Bray Wyatt is number one, given that we already have evidence of him popping a rating a few weeks ago for SmackDown that did 2.5 million viewers, which was the largest total audience that SmackDown has had since March 2020. So, and you look at the other things, including the YouTube reaction that we've seen for that video of him returning at Extreme Rules. I'm starting to see his merchandise appear in the top sellers sort, very high at the top. So there's already an expectation that a Bray Wyatt effect, despite him not appearing on this show other than a video recap, just the fact of him returning would put WWE more at top of mind, or probably more precisely fans would be tuning in to think that maybe he's going to show up. He didn't, though. Post pay-per-view is another factor. Shows after a pay-per-view tend to do well. B pay-per-views like Extreme Rules, though not necessarily. So I'd say that's the smallest one, and maybe the DX. And the DX thing has to be considered. Hard to unpack, though.
I'm sure there's not cage match data on this yet, but the social media, especially Twitter, was very in favor of this show, this episode. There was a lot of nice things said.
You want to know what the cage match rating was for this Raw? Let's look. Let's go to
like I said, on social media, it was very positive.
This right now, with 105 votes, it's at a 7.62. 7.62 for Raw. That's higher than last week, which was a 6.4, but not as high as 2 weeks ago. And the week before that, both of those were 8s. So this is for this era of Raw, this is an average Raw, I would say, in terms of cage match rating. I think, though, Chris Gullo, you're probably... Have you been voting on cage match?
I have not.
I've been seeing your Instagram posts where you've been posting how great WWE is, and you follow Wrestlenomics at Wrestlenomics on Instagram. Are you infiltrating CageMatch.net? How many burner accounts do you have? I know you have more than one email address. I have 2 of your email addresses. Lord knows how many others you have. How many accounts have you created in Cage Match to just astroturf the numbers here to make it look like W's actually changed?
I'm going to deny all those rumors, all these allegations.
Okay.
They cannot be proven.
Okay. Anyway, briefly about ratings. Rampage rating was not great this week. It had the Battle of the Belts episode after it. This is the first time the Battle of the Belts is aired immediately after Rampage. This was the 4th edition of Battle of the Belts, which is a special that if you don't know, has been happening quarterly since January of this year. It was slightly less viewed than all the others. So I'm not sure what the purpose of Battle of the Belts really is, other than a token of appeasement to AEW for the inconvenience of it having to move from TNT to TBS. NXT had its highest total viewership since Halloween Havoc last year. So a good rating for NXT. And then we can look at, I guess this is kind of what we're getting at here with the cage match ratings. That I don't know. I think Gullo might be fixing these things, but here we have, this is a totally made up. And by made up, I mean I made this index where I weighted different events to different weights. So I counted like NXT half. I counted Raw times 3 because it's 3 hours. I counted SmackDown 2 because it's 2 hours. I counted pay-per-views times 3. Without getting into a whole explanation of methodology, that would be boring. This calculation would make it seem as if WWE is being as positively received by the voters who are voting on it as the voters who are voting on AEW. Well, not as. It's getting close. It's trending upwards. So there's that. And we can see all the deltas versus the last 4 weeks. One of the big stories I think that's happening in TV ratings, the big story in TV ratings, is one of the big changes that's happened in the last few months. That is a clear narrative, is how Rampage, we're looking at the demo here in this chart, how Rampage has, until a few months ago, decisively beaten NXT. Well, NXT would be higher in total viewership and whatnot within the demo, which is the number that matters to determining ad values. Within the demo, yeah, NXT was in a lot of weeks beating Rampage in total viewership. Rampage was still blowing away NXT in the demo. Since late spring or so, that's not been the case. It's been within the same week. In a comparison of these two shows in the same week, it's been back and forth, and a lot of times lately in the same week, NXT has been ahead of Rampage. Now, before you celebrate and tell everybody, Chris Gullo, that they're a liar if they think that AEW is actually better than WWE, now let's consider that Rampage is doing its ratings on Friday night at 10, a later time slot, and NXT is doing its ratings on a better night, but more importantly, a better time slot from 8 to 10. But this illustrates the decline of Rampage. Why is Rampage down? Why?
I mean, it's that the new car smell of it went away. There's no... Seem to be a lot of the bigger stars aren't always put on Rampage. It seems to be.
You're saying it's the content?
I think it's a time slot first, but then it's also probably the content.
Well, the thing that I learned from studying WWE over these years, and it's nice that the tables have turned now, I learned from Vince McMahon that whenever ratings are good, that's because of the content. But whenever ratings are in decline, that's because of other sports and other news and presidential elections and the Olympics and hurricanes and all these external the talent injuries. You know, sometimes your talent gets into fights in the back. Sometimes you have to suspend scores of them and things of that nature. So, or maybe it's the content. Anyway, Bray Wyatt is advertised for SmackDown tomorrow in Louisiana, New Orleans, Louisiana. How do you say that city name? New Orleans? New Orleans? It's not New Orleans. Don't say New Orleans.
No, it's New Orleans.
Yeah. Have you been to New Orleans?
Yes.
Yeah.
For a Mania weekend.
Any brief stories that you can tell about New Orleans?
They really should close the bars down a lot earlier than they do. How to say that?
Okay, well, SmackDown is in New Orleans tomorrow. As of today, in fact, almost 6,000 tickets distributed according to WrestleTix. The last time WWE was in New Orleans was for a SmackDown. So this is a nice like-to-like comparison in terms of the same type of event. We don't even have the excuse of saying, well, it was a Monday for Raw, and this is a Friday, and Friday is a better night to sell tickets. And it's about even. So SmackDown on February, now it's a different season. Ideally, we would like this comparison to be within the same quarter or something. But February 22nd, there was a SmackDown in New Orleans that, according to WrestleTix, had about 6,000 tickets distributed. So this event is right there right now. Will this climb up in the days to come? We'll see. Extreme Rules did. Extreme Rules climbed in attendance, probably because of the anticipation that Bray Wyatt would be returning. Raw in Brooklyn this past Monday, according to WrestleTix, final count, tickets distributed, 11,223. There was a big surge in tickets out. I hesitate to say ticket sales, but there was a big surge in ticket activity towards the last few days of this event happening this past Monday. Maybe because of DX. I mean, DX was advertised for quite a while in advance. Or maybe because Bray Wyatt actually debuted on the prior Saturday. I would tend to give more of the credit to Bray Wyatt, even though I'm not a fan of horror movies or horror movies in wrestling.
Oh, really?
AEW. Oh, yeah. No, I've it's like roller coasters. No,
Never liked horror characters. Spin the wheel.
I don't want to be terrified. AEW finally made it to Canada, finally out of the United States. This past Wednesday, yesterday, 7,394 in almost that's Cops Coliseum. I'm still calling it the Rico Center in Toronto, WWE's house show venue. 7,394.
Coca-Cola Coliseum. Cobb's Coliseum is in like
Coca-Cola is not sponsoring us. Rampage is tomorrow, a separate event in the same venue. 4,790 was the number as of Tuesday, according to WrestleTix. All these numbers according to WrestleTix. I've heard some complaints about not enough matches announced. There are some matches announced now, though, of course, because now we've had Dynamite already happen.
So the Rampage tonight, that's going to get aired tomorrow, though, right? Or is it not live, right?
Oh, it's tonight. I said Friday.
Yeah.
Bad. Apparently. Yes, no, it's not going to air tonight.
Okay, that's where I got a little confused on, yeah.
Okay. One other thing to mention here is we've got a lot of baseball playoffs happening of late.
Go Phillies.
Was the Phillies and Braves on Fox last night?
Yes, that was the Fox game.
That was the most watched telecast in 18 to 49. We also didn't talk about the fact that AEW Dynamite did not finish number 1 in the demo on Wednesday. It did not finish number 2, did not finish number 3. It finished number 4 with a .32 ahead of it with the same rating. But I trust that Showbuzz Daily is ordering this down to the third decimal place. And the number 3 telecast in the demo was the post-game show for I believe this is the Padres and Dodgers game, which was on FS1. The game itself was number 1, but also beating Dynamite, also with a .42 in the demo. Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, .42. It's been a while, I think, since Dynamite's done a .42 in the demo. But let's see if we look at M18 to 49. M18 to 49. It is ahead of the post game show. It definitely is ahead of Real Housewives. No surprise there, but not ahead of the game of the Padres and Dodgers. So we're going to see more baseball. You know, we're through this last year.
Hockey starts tomorrow. Or tonight.
Hockey was on last night.
Hockey starts.
Hockey was on last night.
Yeah, or today. I
believe was it the Bruins and the Rangers was on TNT, 7:01 p.m. Yep. Dynamite's old time slot did a .19 in the demo.
NBA preseason, and now we're going to go to this thing where there's a football game, whether it's college or NFL, on every night of the week going until December.
No shortage of excuses if you need one.
Yes.
If you have a good rating, it's because of the content. It's because everybody did a great job. If the rating is disappointing, well, external things must have interceded. Yes. That's basically, I think that's all we have to run through here. Questions or we have what's been happening with a more direct conversation about WWE and AEW we could have too.
I think the big thing is I've heard on other podcasts they keep bringing up goodwill, that maybe AEW's goodwill with the fans has run out. Like What are your? This is not a statistical thing, so this is all opinion. But what are your thoughts on that? Like that, if get fans, I'll give them a couple years, and now it's like, all right, I gave you a couple years. Like the goodwill of some fans has ran out for AEW.
I think it's hard for me to say without projecting my own feelings. I guess I think I don't know. I think there's no CM Punk, there's no Kenny Omega, there's no Young Bucks. And we had a conversation on Tuesday that everybody should listen to with attorney CJ Donald. And I talked to another attorney who gave me their thoughts on the case. This person said that AEW's speculated that AEW may be being advised. Total speculation. Wrestlenomics is not reporting this. Speculated that maybe AEW is being advised to just fire everybody. That would be Punk, Omega, and the Bucks. They may be being advised that it is in their interest to just let go of everybody. Maybe we'll get into more of that on Sunday as far as the reasoning. But those stars aren't around. I think, in my own fan view, it makes it burns a little of the goodwill in that, like, we thought that Punk was going to be here, and then he got injured, and then he's back, and then there's this fight, and it's not like a malicious burning of goodwill, but sort of what is going on there, and then Sammy Guevara and Andrade getting into a fight the prior week, It's good to see MJF back. I think MJF's star is continuing to rise in the midst of all this.
Moxley has been consistently a good champion for them.
Yeah,
I mean, they have stars.
Moxley's got a great case for Wrestler of the Year. He's probably going to win.
Yeah. They have a lot of stars there right now, but then see FTR is not used on TV as much.
But I think part of it is this too, is that part of AEW's reason for existing, I said part, is to be a strong alternative to a crappy mainstream product that is less crappy. And people out there listening may still think it's quite crappy, and that's fine. But there's still a large population, economically speaking, there's still a large population out there of people who are probably not very satisfied with WWE, who are more satisfied with it, or who are engaging with it a little bit, or probably engaging with it a little bit more now. And I think that takes some of the value away from AEW, because you don't need it as much in some people's view. You don't need it as much to satisfy your I want to see good wrestling urge.
We'll talk more on Sunday, but like if say all four parties were fired,
Yes,
like that, it would be interesting. WWE's approach. I think Punk's would be done with wrestling, in my opinion, but it would be interesting.
I think Punk's relationship with Paul Levesque was worse than his relationship with Vince. Now, I'm not saying that. I get the impression that Paul Levesque doesn't hold grudges, and he's pretty willing to reconcile with people, but Punk would be on the far end of that, and that's in Paul Levesque's view, is what I'm speculating about. And if I speculate about Punk's view, I think he would be even more stubborn about what it would take to let him work with them again.
Now the other three, if they somehow ended up in WWE, that would be I think it'd be a pretty big. We're talking about as big as Cody.
Yeah, and the stock price continues to grow. The stock price closed at 75.49 today, which is the highest close price that's closed at since September 2019. $5.5 billion of market cap. So 36% of that $5.5 billion is owned by Vince, and I've heard people say that, wow, Paul Levesque's doing a great job, and I think he's doing a good job. But I think it's vastly underestimated how bad a job at creative Vince was doing, and it's leaving everyone to just be in awe of, wow, look at Triple H. He's doing this amazing job that nobody else could possibly do. So, anyway.
I think, we are at 30 minutes.
We're at 30 minutes. And any more W Shill comments you want to make? Any you know any other coordinated effort you want to do to try to make Tony Khan look bad and embarrass him? And
Not the narrative I paint at all. It was interesting to see Ariel Helwani as a member of the Bills Mafia. That was an interesting thing.
oh,
Did not know
now it all comes out. Now you must have. Did you just get off the phone with Ariel Helwani?
I did not.
Was it a three-way
We have
call?
never had a conversation.
Was it a three-way call with was Nick Khan there? Well, that's all for now. You can tune in Sunday and hear more of Grifter Chris Gullo's bad faith takes and his WWE brainworms. We'll talk to you then when Jesse Collins will set you straight.
Yeah, I'm gonna go spend the weekend at Stanford, and I'll be back on Sunday.
Okay, bye.